Embarrassing, humiliating, terrible. What's up with Stan and your Pistons?
Well, when you use buzzwords like unprofessional, what he's basically talking towards is effort. The one thing about being an athlete, especially in the NBA, you can be competitive if you just play hard. And what happened to the Pistons in Chicago, they were down 40 points in the second quarter. Like, you basically have to be trying to do that. And so that's the level of disgust and disdain that not only Stan had by standing on the sideline, that I had as well, holding the remote control in my hand. I'm like, what's going on? I popped some popcorn on the stove, put some Lowry seasoning salt on it, a little regular salt, crushed up some Doritos, put them in a brown paper bag. I was ready.
Well, Reggie Jackson was ready. He's finally back and ready to play. And he was supposed to, they were playing well before Reggie came back, and he was supposed to ignite this team so they would make a dramatic rise up the Eastern Conference standings. Hasn't really gone as they expected. There was a now infamous players-only meeting in which they discussed ball movement. Translation, Reggie passed the ball. And in the Bulls game, he's a little deferential, passing, saying like, oh, you guys want me to pass? Here you go, you score then. What do you think about Reggie and his fit with the Pistons as he's come back?
You've seen players do this, whether it's a Hall of Fame player like Kobe Bryant, who was chastised for not passing the ball, and he purposely against Phoenix made it a point to only pass the ball and not score. I played in a situation that this literally took place with Rafer Alston as a member of the Raptors. We was playing at Charlotte, and he decided that myself and Morris Peterson, that he just literally was not going to pass his wings the basketball the entire game.
Good for him.
To the point where our coach took him out of the game. For Reggie Jackson, it's unique. Here's why. While not being an all-star level player, he still is a really productive player. But in order to play to his maximum, that ball has to be an extension of his hands. And what do I mean by that? High usage. Almost like Russell Westbrook type, where he would exhaust a possession sometimes where he at least has the basketball 15 of the 24 seconds. So now what are the other players doing while he's trying to create? Especially when he's not a range shooter with accuracy. Now, he did lead the league in points off high pick and roll average last year.
Him and Drummond were great.
So he's really effective at running that play, getting to his right hand in particular, driving to the basket, finishing, getting fouled, throwing the lob to Andre, or even getting it up on the backboard where Andre Drummond can clean it up with a tip dunk, or kicking it out to shooters. But the hardest thing to do is to integrate a player back into the lineup when everybody else used to getting touches. It's not like he's the headline marquee type, perennial all-star type. So everybody else, KCP, like, man.
I was hitting shots.
Hey, you know what? I like what the ball felt like in my hand to make plays. Tobias Harris, Marcus Morris, these guys got used to being in a position to make plays. And Ish Smith is more of a traditional type point guard who's really fast, goes downhill, tries to make a play for himself, or he's going to pass the ball. So to integrate Reggie back into the situation, it is an adjustment. They'll be fine making the adjustment. They will be in the playoffs.
Jalen, that was some really good NBA analysis from my favorite NBA analyst, Jalen Rose, who's very familiar with the Detroit Pistons. May I do my thing? Can I do the media member thing and just take this a little bit too far? Can I do that?
Sure.
We all remember where he played before he was on the Pistons. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. How did that end, Jalen?
Not so well, to the point where he was unhappy with his role and ended up getting traded to Detroit. But there's a but there.
Let me take it too far.
I know. I want you to take it too far, but I want to stop you before you go there.
Okay.
He was not going to get an $80 million contract to play basketball in Oklahoma City.
See, I'm going to go with more the chemistry. It seemed like him and his teammates no longer got along at the end, and now they famously don't get along. Every time you play, there's always some tension between Reggie and his former teammates in Oklahoma City Thunder. Are you concerned about him being sort of a chemistry killer?
Not at all. His style, as I mentioned, it sticks to the basketball. Like, he'll come off a pick and roll. He don't like it. He'll reset it. Now, when you're Chris Paul and you're doing that, your teammates don't mind. When you're Russell Westbrook or James Harden doing that, your teammates don't mind, because those guys are perennial all-stars. But when you're Reggie Jackson, a guy that, while you are a really productive player, and there are nights that he plays at an all-star level, everybody else get used to that basketball. And trust me, whatever type of energy you can call it, kinetic energy, solar energy, whatever, the basketball has it. And everybody feels better when they touch it. You know why? Because everybody's watching the ball. Hey, Mom, look, I'm holding the ball. Hey, fans, hey, media, I'm holding the ball. Even if I can't shoot it from right here, I can be Dennis Rodman at the three-point line. As long as I have the ball, I feel better about my role. So that's the integration process that the team is going to have to endure.
Something that has always bothered you is the fans voting on the starters of the All-Star game. Well, they've changed it, Jalen Rose. Now it is 50% fan vote, 25% players and coaches, and 25% media. I know you like this a little bit more. Last year we had a thing where Zaza Pachulia was almost an All-Star and blah, blah, blah. However, Kyrie Irving says fan vote, that's cool. Players and coaches vote, that cool. You can throw away the media votes, though. Do you agree with Kyrie?
That's a tough question. I don't like fans voting for all-star starters at all. C, Allen Iverson, a member of the Detroit Pistons, not a starter, but a starter in the all-star game. But here's what I propose. 75% of the vote should go to media members. By the way, I don't know who these media members are that left James Harden off the All-NBA team, but that's another subject for another day. And 25% of the vote go to the players. But here's the point I want to make. As somebody that played in the league 13 years, that has been working at this company all 10 years, I'm still trying to figure out why I don't have a vote. And so here's what I want to say about the media voting. We need to line up those 150, 200 people and acknowledge who are they? And make sure that they actually are following the game literally to the point where they have an educated vote. When James Harden puts up the kind of numbers that he put up last year, and he's not a member of the All-NBA team, that's the media's fault because they vote on that award. So I like the media voting when they're unbiased, but I am the guy, too, that as soon as a media member says, I'm a fan of, take his vote away.
You don't have a vote for NBA awards?
There are about 200 total people that vote on first place. I think ESPN has about 75 people that vote. For some strange reason, I'm not one. I've been asking for 5 years.
Right after I get you in the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame, I'm going to get you that vote, Mr. Rose. A lot of people are going out to dinner with colleagues, you know, around this time of year. That happens a lot. And that's not unique to the non-sports world. Athletes get together and have dinner all the time, and the bill is often sort of like stuck on somebody. Just explain a little bit about this practice, Jalen.
So basically what I've learned is usually when you go out to dinner with a group of people, the person that everybody else thinks has the most money is the person that gets stuck with the bill.
Do you feel there's a responsibility if you have the most money to pay the bill?
You feel a responsibility, but here's what you got to learn to do. Learn not to invite everybody because you get stuck with the bill. So instead of inviting 10 people, maybe you learn to invite 2 or 3 if you don't want to get put in that position. Because you learn people get alligator arms real quick. Short arms, deep pockets. And how about this? Here's the other thing when you're paying the bill. People ordering stuff that they would never order if they had to pay it. I'm looking down at the table, people ordering salads, soups, appetizers, multiple drinks, desserts.
I'm glad you brought this up, Mr. Rose, because there's a rookie safety on the Texans named KJ Dillon. He's out right now with a torn ACL. He's a rookie. He's a 5th-round pick, and he was stuck with the tab at dinner in Houston, and they went hard. And the bill was $16,255.20 of American USD currency.
That's a lot of money.
You and I have spent at least an hour of our lives a day breaking down this bill, and some things really stuck out to me. Number one, $7,700 of Hennessy. That is 22 servings of Hennessy Paradis Imperial.
What?
How do you spend $8,000 on Hennessy in one dinner?
That's the other thing about elaborate dinners, is that people are also ordering multiple drinks that they would not order if they had to pay. And for those that go out to dinner a lot, usually for those that consume adult beverages, that becomes 40-50% of the entire bill.
Always. Always.
And in this case, I like to look at who, not necessarily what. If this is a first-round pick, out with a torn ACL, I understand giving him a $16,000 bill. But a fifth-round pick with a torn ACL, guess what might happen this offseason? He might not be on the team next year.
You might not. He might not come back next year. And here's the thing: I've looked into this. He makes approximately $450,000. All right, now doing some just very rough math, that's going to get you to about a net of $275,000 after taxes. If he paid the tip of 25%. The whole bill goes to just over $20,000. Now we're talking about 8% of his net salary for the entire year was spent on Hennessy, steaks, and lobster.
Well, let me help you out, sir. As an athlete, now a media member. It's not only Uncle Sam that's taking almost 40%. You also have to pay your agent or manager.
That's right. That's right. So the net even gets smaller. So this is probably about 10%. This is probably 10% of his annual salary was spent on this dinner. Now, to be fair to the rest of the Texans, he did say that his vets take him to dinner all the time. Is there some sort of rotating policy where someone pays the bill at every time throughout the year?
Yeah, the rookies. That's the rotating policy. Other than that, the seasoned vets, the second contract guys. It's almost your duty to make sure that you're not only trying to win ball games, but teaching your teammates how to be pros, how to look after one another, how to make a team feel inclusive. So, of course, team dinners happen often on the road at various locations. I appreciated this practice. It's one of the things that I miss about being an athlete the most. But I do think it's foul for it to happen in his case because of his situation.
Absolutely. Now, a bottle of Hennessy generally goes for what, Jalen? Like $45, $50, right?
Hey, man, hit the brakes. I almost cursed, and that's something I ain't did in 13 years. If Brock Osweiler don't pay this bill...
I mean, let's be honest. Brock Osweiler should be paying all of the Texans' bills now.
Are you kidding me? The guy that got this massive all-season contract just got benched in the second quarter, and they still won? He should be paying the bill. Man, let me tell you something. He would have paid that bill.
He should. He's probably going to send us an invoice to Brock Osweiler. He paid for it. He's going to send an invoice to Brock Osweiler and be like, "You really owe me $20,000 for this. This is on you."
Just think about the dynamics of a quarterback. Have you seen? Let me see. What's the quarterback's name for the Jets that had a $600 issue with IK?
That's Geno Smith, sir.
Have you seen him since then on the field?
I haven't. Is he still on the team, right?
Okay, so that is the most prestigious position on the team. The fans were cheering this guy getting benched. The team still went on to win without him. And you know what else the team went on to do? Have dinner without him, too. Because if he was sitting at that table,
they didn't invite him.
He would have had to pay the check. So this is what I think the Texans should do. Not a fifth rounder paying 10% of his salary on a torn ACL. Y'all need to find a way for Brock Osweiler. I don't care if it's $1,000 a month. He need to pay that rookie back that tab.
I love this plan. So I did some investigating on this because I'm a very serious journalist, Jalen. A bottle of Hennessy is about $45, $50 at a liquor store. However, this is Hennessy Paradis Imperial. I looked it up online. These are over $3,000 for a bottle. You get the bottle engraved. Now, why would anybody in the world pay $3,000 for a bottle of Hennessy is beyond me. But here's the description of Paradis Imperial. Are you ready? Only the most expensive eau de vie, which means water of life in French. Some over a century old have been selected to achieve magisterial complexity, balance, and the finest texture, continually revealing new tones of expression and delicate floral essences on the palate. Does that sound like something that's worth $3,000 to you, Mr. Rose?
It does not. I understand the prestige of fine alcoholic beverages.
Sure.
Louis the 13th comes to mind. $1.50 the shot.
Sure.
I get it. But this is one of those things that when you have multiple millionaires at the table, you can do that. We just won a big game.
You know, they look at the menu and they just look at the most expensive thing. They're not even looking at the words. They're just looking at the numbers. Like,
we can do that.
We're going to stick KG Dunn with this one.
You always say this. The great American philosopher, David Jacoby.
Great philosopher.
People don't celebrate enough.
People don't celebrate enough. They just won a game. Tom 21 Savage is playing quarterback. Let's do it for Billy B.
They're leading their division, having quarterback issues, still may make the playoffs. I appreciate that he posted this tab, but I don't appreciate the fact that Brock Osweiler didn't pay it. Like, they need to find a way to get him to put up.
One more thing on this tab that I wanted to point out to you. Now, everyone's going to talk about the Hennessy and the $8,000 of that, but there was something on this menu that I thought Jalen needs to make a trip to this restaurant. They had a dish. 2 orders were made. Sea bass, lobster. There are 3 things I know Jalen Rose loves in the world: lobster, sea bass, and statues. Road trip to Houston for some of that lobster, sea bass?
No question. Now that you said that, I'm not tripping off the Hennessy or the bill. I need to find out what restaurant that is.
Sea bass. I tried to Google that too, but I'm not that serious of an investigative journalist.
Brock Osweiler need to be paying that tab.
Yep. Jalen, one of the big pieces of news in the sports world of the last week has been the new CBA that has been announced between the NBA and the NBPA. It's exciting. We're all excited about it, and some of the more details are coming out. And something jumped out to me, some of the prohibited activities on the new collective bargaining agreement, things that NBA players will not be allowed to participate in. Can't use fireworks, can't use firearms, no hoverboards, no trampoline jumping, but this one really bothers me. No jet skiing. Now, look. I get it. You don't want them to play with fireworks. You don't want them to run around shooting off guns. I understand all of this. Even the trampoline thing. Rondo, talking to you there. But you got to be able to jet ski in today's day and age. Like, how dangerous is jet skiing? You're surrounded by water. Anyone who's ever been on a jet ski has fallen off a jet ski and not been injured. Why can't you jet ski if you're an NBA player?
You know how negotiations work.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the after high school rule. The league wants 2 years after college. The players want entry right after you graduate from high school. The compromise was 1 year to college. The players were in deliberations, and they were like, hey, man, they don't want us to be able to jet ski. And then somebody else was like, can we still go to strip club? It's like, yeah. It's like, we'll take it.
Forget the jet skis then.
We'll take it.
Forget the jet skis.
Where do we sign?
Yeah, whatever. I'll sell my jet skis right now, and I'll go right to the strip club. Okay, I think, you know what? I like it when you pull us behind the curtain. I understand how this works. At first, I looked at the NBA as this sort of, like, overlord organization that didn't want the players to have any fun, and now I understand that you have to make some concessions in life. And you know what? The Gentlemen's Club is probably a lot more fun than jet skiing. Yep. LeBron James has a new game show on NBC, and I'm a LeBron stan, and I'm not afraid to admit it, right? And one of the things that we always celebrate him for is all the business interests that him and Matt Carter and Spring Hill Entertainment and Clutch Sports and the movies and the TV shows and all the things that they do outside the world of sports. However, this game show, The Wall, is just Price is Right's Plinko. It is fully plagiarized. It is Plinko. Everybody knows it's Plinko. And he did an interview and he was talking about, I remember the day it was pitched to me and it was, this vision that we had for it. But this wasn't pitched to you. That vision was you sitting on the couch watching Plinko being like, let's steal that. That's not a pitch, LeBron.
That's one of the things. And as you start to get older, it happens more often. Back in the day, you could really knock off a record without the clearance hurdles that you have nowadays. So how many times have you sat in the car and you heard somebody younger than you usually jam into a record and you like, they knocked off the whole song. I don't know if I can enjoy the new version because they literally stole the old version.
It's the same thing. Talking to you, Puffy. Now, here's one thing about this. I feel like he called up Bob Barker and he was like, Bob, we're stealing Plinko, And then he hung up, and Matt was like, what happened? He's like, we have to spay and neuter all of the dogs and cats all over the globe, and they're going to give us Plinko, and we're going to make $1 million from it. All right. Another thing they're bringing back to TV, I really want to get your feeling on this.
To tell the truth, January 1st.
That's exactly what I was going to say. To Tell the Truth is coming back January 1st.
Starring Anthony Anderson, his lovely mom. I can't wait till the new year. Make sure you check it out. Set it on your DVR right now if it's up there.
Jalen Rose, I don't know how to feel about this, so I need your advice. Should I be more worried or excited about Good Times and Jeffersons coming back to television?
You should be enthusiastic. You should be very excited, as I am. Two of my favorite programs growing up, I don't mind seeing them repurposed. And the same for Scarface. I enjoy all three. But here's the first thing that comes to mind for a new generation.
What's that?
And Stephen A., you know I love you, my brother. Appreciate you taking care of wifey, and hope you enjoy the Christmas gift we got you.
Uh-oh.
Now there's going to be a new generation of fans that won't know whether to compare him to Calvin from Paid in Full or George Jefferson. I just don't want my brother to have to deal with that. Stephen A., you know I love you, my brother. That was a good joke, though. That was a good one. That was a good one.
It wasn't until you asked me to say it was good. You know what I mean? You got to ride that one out. After a couple DMPs, Aaron Aflalo did something that I have to ask you about. Aaron Aflalo was told to go in the game, and he said, you know what, Coach? I'm good. What? I'll stay right here. Refused to go in the game. Have you ever done this? Have you ever seen this? What do you make of it?
I am never the person that takes glory and talk about people's jobs, because that's how you feed your family, and ultimately you love what you do. So I don't take these conversations lightly.
Okay.
But when I own a team and I see players in the locker room with Hennessy bottles, posting them on Snapchat, I look down at the standings and we haven't truly improved and we're not in the playoffs. When there's a player, Aaron Aflalo has been a consummate professional in the league. That's one thing I will say about him. This is not necessarily true to his character.
Nope.
This is him behaving like the situation he's in. It's almost like being a parent. You have to pick and choose where you let your kids spend the night, because there are certain programs that they may be able to watch on TV or things they may be able to hear on the radio that you just don't allow. And that's what comes to mind when I hear you say this about Aaron Aflalo. So now if I'm the ownership, you know what I'll do?
What?
GM and coach got to immediately go.
Really? GM and coach have to immediately go. Because you know the owner is Vivek Ranadive, and he will fire a GM and coach so fast. But Dave Yeager was just hired there. He was just brought in. Now we've got the Boogie incident. We've got the Hennessy in the locker room. We've got the nightclub thing. And now you've got players that will not come off the bench and go into the game. You're suggesting that the coach should be fired.
It's almost like I said about Todd Bowles, who I think, if given the opportunity, can actually turn the Jets around. Usually the teams that struggle are the ones that don't have quarterbacks, and the Jets don't have a quarterback. As it relates to the Sacramento Kings, I parallel the two, and here's why. Because when that Snapchat video gets posted, now Bowles has to come into the office and not only talk about the landscape of the team, he has to talk about the discipline or lack thereof of the team. Not only does the coach and GM have to be responsible for a team that's headed to the lottery for the umpteenth time, and I know they've had 10, 15 coaches in the last, 10 plus years. But when there's an overtone that the inmates may be running the asylum, what that tells you as an owner is you have to have strong day-to-day leadership from the general manager and the head coach. And it doesn't mean that Vlade or Yeager isn't doing a good job in their own right. But what it does mean is it's clearly not resonating to the players on the team. So now what is your decision? I can go in front of a group and talk about any topic. But if they don't care about it, if they're not passionate about it, it really falls on deaf ears. And clearly what's currently happening in Sacramento is falling on deaf ears.
Do you know who really wishes they had Hennessy in the locker room? KJ Dillon of the Texans. He's like, if we had Hennessy in our locker room, I wouldn't have to pay $8,000 for Hennessy at dinner after the game.
Yep.
Rudy Gobert said something that sounds a little crazy at first, okay? It's going to sound crazy at first, but I can make a case. Rudy Gobert said that right now he is the best big man in the NBA. Are you buying it?
You can't make that case. No, I'm not buying it.
I can make a case. I can make a case.
No, you can't.
In December, he hit 70% of his shots, okay? 70% of his shots in September.
When?
In December, the month of December.
Okay. So how many years has he been in the league?
3.
Okay.
He had a good couple of weeks, all right? That's my point. Right now, he's the best big man in the league. And he's held opposing centers to 41%. Against the Grizzlies, he scored 21 points on 9 of 9 shooting with 12 rebounds. And stopped the previous player of the week, Marc Gasol. Is Rudy Gobert, are you convinced he's now the best big man in the game?
I appreciate the development of the Stifle Tower, who's done a terrific job continuing to emerge not only as a defensive stalwart, but also as somebody that can actually catch, finish, and score around the basket. I appreciate his improvement. And I love his confidence. But if you give him some sodium pentothal, which is truth serum, I learned that from Doug Collins. I miss you, Coach. He'll tell you that he's not the best big man in the game.
So let me tell you something, Jalen. And this is why I appreciate his confidence as well. You can't tell me that this isn't the best show on TV. Like, I'm talking Game of Thrones, Westworld, The Today Show, 60 Minutes, Monday Night Football. You can't tell me that Jalen Jacoby is not the best show on television. And that's how he feels.
And we have the best gear. Got the best gear, too.
Jalen Rose wearing the Jalen Jacoby t-shirt. We'll tell you how you can get your own Jalen Jacoby t-shirt in early 2017. Russell Westbrook scored 46 points, and they still lost to the Hawks. Is this going to get old for Westbrook? Is this going to fall apart, this everything is on me thing?
I want people to appreciate a player that shows up each night and literally plays with emotion, passion, and productivity, regardless of the score of the game, regardless of where they are in the standings, and regardless of who's on the team. He's now become the most unique weapon in the game. You let me know a player that could get you 45 points one night and 20 assists the other night.
It's crazy.
That's truly unique. He and James Harden continue to elevate what expectations of terrific offensive players have become in today's game, and I love it as a fan.
Now, here's a dumb question. Is there a part of Russell Westbrook that's not just happy that KD is gone, that's also kind of happy that Oladipo is hurt? Like, does he just want everybody out of the way? He's just like, you know what? Now I can just have the ball every possession with no one to bother me.
I disagree with that. He's going to need Oladipo, especially as a slasher, as a backcourt mate to play defense, to be somebody that can switch a lot of situations, guard the best point guard so he doesn't have to expend that energy. In particular, so Robertson doesn't have to be out there because he's not the best three-point shooter, and he's a terrible free throw shooter. I don't think he feels that way. But what about his development? A guy that played with James Harden, played with Kevin Durant, and regardless of who's on the team or who's hurt, he still put these numbers up. This is not a blip on the radar. This is a trend.
We have some sad news. The Rockets were quickly becoming my favorite team to watch in the National Basketball Association. A lot of that had to do with the replacement of Dwight Howard with Clint Capella. Clint Capella was on his way to a Most Improved Player award. He was just catching all the lobs, protecting the rim, being the one defender lob catcher that this team needs when it's James Harden and a bunch of shooters. Clint Capella's hurt. Do you think they will try to acquire somebody for this 6 to 8 weeks that he's out? Or are they going to give it to Montrezl Harrell, one of my favorite named athletes in the league?
This is where the situation with Monty Eunice can come back and bite them in the backside. This is why you hope to have him under contract in the fold in case an injury like this takes place. While Montrezl Harrell is going to get more minutes at that spot, he's undersized when it comes to going against the starting centers in this league that are really productive. Yes, they will look to acquire another big man because that's a lot of time in the Western Conference. You can go from being a top 4 team to literally a 8th seed playing in that conference. So I do anticipate them trying to fill that void, and Clint Capella's had a terrific season.
Now, you and I have meals together, correct?
Yes, indeed.
How many Hennessy Paradis Imperials would you allow me to order over the course of a meal before you said something if you knew you were paying for it?
2.
On the third one, you can't let me get a third one? A little after-dinner aperitif?
Here's the thing. This is why, and here's old man Jalen, this is why I don't enjoy going to the club anymore. Because the period of time when I leave my residence to the time I have my first beverage, I hate that entire period of time. Leave the house, get in the Uber. Uber, get to the spot. Or driver, however you do it. You get to the spot. Now you got to tip the host. Then the host walks you to the counter. Then you got to tip the person at the counter. Then that person gets you to the person that's taking care of the VIP guests. And then that VIP host now takes you to a table. Now you're paying $1,000 for just a table in the spot. Like, why am I paying to sit somewhere? For location? This ain't real estate. Like, why am I paying to sit at a table? And then there's a $50 bottle of your favorite beverage that you can get at a packaging store that you're paying $1,000 for. And before you know it, you sitting there with the 1 or 2 people you probably came with or who you had meet. Now all of a sudden, they got sparkles coming across the place with your bottle and your champagne. Before you know it, it's 50 people over there, 48 of them, you don't even know who they are, taking sips of your bottle. And then they give you juices you don't even want. I didn't ask for that pineapple, orange, and cranberry juice. I don't even drink that. I don't want that. I don't even like fizz water. I don't want that.